You know, for as long as we've been around, we've dreamed of beating death. It's in our myths, our medicine. This idea of immortality is just, well, a constant. But today, technology is throwing some really radical new answers into the mix, and it's forcing us to ask some pretty profound new questions. I mean, really think about that. What if death wasn't really the end of the conversation? What if you could get one last piece of advice, or maybe just say a final goodbye? This isn't science fiction anymore. Not really. This is the question that a huge, rapidly growing industry is trying to answer right now. So let's start with a physical approach. This is the idea that's been a staple of sci-fi for, like, ever, cryonics. The basic idea is pretty simple, right? Freeze the body now and hope that sometime in the future, technology can fix whatever went wrong and bring you back. And hey, this isn't just a theory in a book. Right now, there are around 600 people all over the world who have put their faith and, their actual bodies into this very idea. They are currently cryopreserved, basically banking on a future that we can only imagine. Okay, so the process is way more complex than just sticking someone in a freezer. After a person is legally declared dead, their body gets cooled down, and then their blood is replaced with a kind of antifreeze solution. And that step is absolutely crucial because it stops ice crystals from literally shredding their 40 trillion cells. Then they're slowly brought down to a mind-boggling minus 200 degrees Celsius and stored in a giant liquid nitrogen tank called a cryostat. As you can imagine, a ticket to the future like this does not come cheap. The cost for this whole procedure can get as high as $200,000. That is a massive financial gamble, based entirely on a maybe. But here's the thing. This is the crucial point. Despite all the money, all the complexity, and the hundreds of people already frozen, the number of people who have been successfully brought back from full-body cryopreservation is exactly zero. A big fat zero. I mean, scientists have unfrozen single cells and even embryos, but bringing an entire human being back, that is still firmly in the realm of theory. So, if freezing our bodies isn't exactly a sure thing, what about freezing our consciousness? This is where we get into the digital world, where artificial intelligence is promising a whole new kind of immortality by creating what some people are calling digital ghosts. And believe me, this isn't some tiny niche market. The death tech industry, which is everything from digital memorials to these AI recreations, is estimated to be worth a staggering $125 billion globally. That's a massive business built on one of our deepest human needs, connection. So what do these digital ghosts actually look like? Well, they generally come in two main flavors. On one side, you've got grief bots. These are basically text-based chatbots that are trained on a person's old writings, like their emails and text messages, to simulate a conversation. And then on the other side, you have the more advanced AI avatars, which use photos and videos to create an interactive visual recreation. You can essentially have a FaceTime call with someone who has passed away. Now, if you're thinking this is all just for personal grief or some futuristic experiment, well, think again. This technology is already having a huge impact in the real world, including in one of the most serious places you can imagine, a courtroom. That is what an AI avatar of a man named Christopher Pelkey said in court. Pelkey was shot and killed during a road rage incident, and more than 3 years after he died, his family had an AI avatar of him created to deliver a victim impact statement using his own picture and a recreation of his voice. And the impact? It was undeniable. The man convicted of killing Pelkey got a 10.5-year sentence. That was the maximum possible, and it was even more than the 9 years prosecutors had asked for. The judge even referred to the avatar as Christopher, which just shows you how powerful and persuasive this tech can be. So this technology is powerful, absolutely. But it also opens up a whole Pandora's box of ethical questions and some really serious potential dangers. So what is the price of this new kind of immortality? Well, the risks are pretty significant. First off, this whole industry is almost completely unregulated. Experts are already warning about things like AI hauntings, where you could get spammed with unwanted, distressing messages from a deceased loved one's AI. And there's very little stopping a company from using that data for marketing. But maybe most importantly, psychologists are worried that constantly talking with an AI could actually drag out the grieving process and prevent people from truly accepting their loss and moving on. But really, all of those risks boil down to one central, massive ethical question: consent. Who gets to decide if a digital version of you gets created after you're gone? Is it you? Your family? Some corporation? You can see this divide pretty clearly when you look at some recent examples. The actor James Earl Jones gave his express permission to have his voice preserved and recreated, which keeps the character of Darth Vader alive. But in contrast, the chef Anthony Bourdain did not. And yet, after he died, an AI clone version of his voice was used in a documentary to read his own writing, words that he himself never actually spoke out loud. The backlash to using Bourdain's voice was immediate, especially because the filmmakers didn't tell anyone it was an AI at first. A lot of people felt tricked. And as this quote suggests, the secrecy around it was seen as a huge ethical mistake. And it just highlights how sensitive and complicated all of this is. So all of this brings us to the most practical question of all. What about your digital legacy? Because these issues aren't just for celebrities anymore. We all need to start thinking about how we can take control of our own digital afterlife. Here's the reality. Whether you want an AI avatar of yourself or not, you are already creating the data that would make one possible. Every single email you send, every photo you post, every social media update, it's all part of a digital footprint that will almost certainly outlive you. So, what can you actually do? The advice is surprisingly straightforward. First, you can update your will to include your digital assets. Be really explicit about what you want to happen to your accounts and your data. Second, if you don't have a will, talk to your loved ones. Just make sure they know what you want. And finally, if the idea of an AI version of you makes you uncomfortable, your best defense is to limit the amount of public data out there that could be used to create one in the first place. So, we've looked at two very different paths to immortality taking shape. The physical one, cryonics, is still a really expensive, unproven hope for the future. But the digital one, AI recreation, it's already here. It's powerful, it's persuasive, but it's operating in a total ethical Wild West. This all means that a version of us, our data, our digital footprint, is going to exist long after we're gone. So the only real question left to answer is, who do you want to be in control of it?